Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 6 Feet Under. Nope, that's the wrong one. I do too many shows. My brain is broken. This one, this one is called Bizarre Podcast, Dogs Must Die. My name is Grant. You can call him Chip. And as we have reached the end of yet another part, it is time to welcome a very special guest. Please introduce yourself as you would like to be introduced.
Hello, I'm VoidBurger. I'm Chip Cheesum's domestic partner. Yay! I love JoJo. My actual husband is Joseph Joestar, though. Sorry, Chip.
It's okay. I understand. He has so many great qualities, like being anime Bugs Bunny.
I do like that makes me your father-in-law. That's interesting.
Aww.
Whoa.
Words that I have put in your mouth, Chip Cheesum, because I described him as anime Bugs Bunny before you did.
Yeah, it's true. I credited you, when I brought it up in the podcast before, I credited you as being the person.
It's true. It's on record. You can go listen to it.
I wouldn't know. None of these episodes are out yet. You're keeping them secret and safe.
So, like I alluded to at the beginning, battle tendency is all behind us. We have ceased our tendency toward battle.
Have we?
There is a crusade coming around the corner. I see it in the stars. But it is time to talk about this as a whole. And so we started our previous episode like this, with me trying to present an argument for why this series grabs people. And I have a new hypothesis.
Okay.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is so popular and infectious because people are driven to talk about it just to confirm they are not hallucinating.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons.
That's solid.
I have gotten at least one other person into JoJo by presenting a similar line of thought to them. You're going to want to talk to me about this. I have watched it. I have come to terms with JoJo. Now I need someone else to watch it and come back to me and go like, dude, what in the fuck? And then I can go, right? And that's the fun of JoJo for me.
The way that like being a JoJo fan works is that you are like driven to infect others with this. It's kind of like how a multi-level marketing scheme sort of works, where you get other people involved and then like you get the gains because you're like just so thrilled that other people are getting into this thing. It's just so weird.
I hear if we get enough people checking out the show or the manga from this, Araki will give me a high five.
Woo.
Oh,
yeah.
And if it's a lot, he'll give me a toaster oven. A JoJo branded toaster oven.
You're above us in the pyramid, actually. And at the bottom of the pyramid is a pillar man.
Whoa.
Oh, wait, you watched JoJo first though, right, Chip?
Yeah, we were just at a Barnes & Noble, and I saw they had, like, the JoJonium edition.
Oh, my goodness.
Of the manga. The nice hardcover ones. So I picked up just the first volume.
That sounds radioactive.
It does. I picked that up, and I was actually reading it, and I brought it up briefly around the time we were doing the first Gexter Life. I remember bringing it up briefly, like, while we were going to get fried chicken, I think.
When we were all delirious, so
yeah,
we were
yes.
the perfect victims to spring JoJo on. Suggestible.
The first volume just ended with the cliffhanger of Dio becoming a vampire, and I was just like, damn, Dio's becoming a vampire. Can't wait to see what happens next.
It seems quaint now, looking back on it.
It really
and it's
does.
going to get more and more quaint as the series goes on. Like, eventually, you're going to be in a situation where you're like, remember how this started? With, like, some buff guy turning into a vampire? And I thought that was crazy?
I will never forget Danny. I'm getting a tattoo of Danny. I'll never forget how this started.
Yeah, I started reading it, and then, like, after reading the first volume, it's just like, wow, all this is on Crunchyroll. I just got to watch the rest of this. And, yeah. I think you, Void, you were just kind of seeing it over my shoulder.
Yeah.
While you were working on stuff like, or something, and you thought it was just Victorian fancy lad quarrels.
Victorian fancy lad quarrels doesn't have the same ring as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But yes, that's what I thought it was. And then eventually vampires happen. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on here? And I wasn't super invested in battle tendency, but I still watched enough of it to be like, this is pretty cray. but I'm just not super interested in the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care a lot about Jonathan because he was just so standard, just the standard shonen anime, tough boy, very noble soul kind of guy. And I was just like, that's not interesting. Did I call part 1 Battle Tendency?
A little bit, yeah.
Oops. Yeah. I'm really bad at remembering what they're all called. But part 1 I was a little bored by for those reasons. And then part 2 happened, and because Joseph is so immediately wily and interesting, I was like, I'm on board 100%. I want to see what this little rascal gets up to. My level of investment went through the roof as soon as Joseph appeared on screen. So that's why this is when I first got like really interested in JoJo as part 2.
Jonathan would never touch a gun. It is the weapon of the coward.
You were actually like sitting down and watching JoJo with me when it was episode 9, and like it was in the middle episode when you saw that Jonathan was dying, and I think that grabbed you a bit because I was
yes,
just like,
actually.
Fuck that guy. This is great.
You were just like, he's dying, and I was like, yeah, this is episode 9 of the first season, and I think that grabbed you.
That did grab me. I like when protagonists. And this is in general, this isn't like just for like anime stuff, like this is video games. I like when protagonists are fallible or not immortal, like they don't have plot armor. So like this noble guy, I was like, this guy's gonna live for the whole series. They're not gonna kill this nice guy, and then they do. I was like, what? Like that's different. Like I am interested in that. Yeah, absolutely.
And then they literally introduce the new wily JoJo who shoots cops' fingers off with bottle caps.
How can you not love a guy that does something like that in episode 1 as his debut? Come on. I'm on board.
In addition to his more like internal processing, like Joseph obviously has a lot more going on upstairs than Jonathan, whose plans were all, I have more meat than you. I'm willing to lose a certain amount of meat if it means you die.
The only thing I can remember that Jonathan did that was Joseph-esque, wily, and a strange decision that worked out was when he swam down to get air.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like, and I think that was the most memorable moment for me because I don't really remember a ton of other things Jonathan did.
He headbutts into karate chops. He does that real good.
And that's not as shocking as like, this motherfucker's swimming down. That's crazy. Now that's bizarre. You can't swim down to do air. Meanwhile, and then later on you get Joseph, who everything he does is that sort of totally stupid bullshit. And it always works because he's like a strategic genius for some reason. He's a prankster god, basically. You've got your Loki, you've got your Bugs Bunny, you've got your Joseph Joestar. This is the pattern, basically.
The fights lean into this stuff a little bit further into part 2, but I like that basically a lot of his big battle strategies and plans that come together are all kind of like magician-based.
It's a lot of sleight of hand.
Yeah, that's fun. The sleight of hand stuff is the stuff that actually owns the villains more often than actually punching them.
That's because the Pillar Men are total like rubes. They're idiots a little bit when it comes to like sleight of hand stuff. Like you could trick them with the ball and cup trick probably, and they'd be like, "Oh, wizardry!"
Yeah,
they're so old that they predate sleight of hand tricks. Apparently, they just can't see through that stuff.
They were around to literally witness their friend Sun Tzu write The Art of War, but they were asleep
during the invention of like 3-card Monty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something I really appreciate about Joseph's planning is that he doesn't always have one.
No, yeah.
Like everything against Straight So was clearly planned in advance. Everything went perfectly according to expectation. But then there are a lot of fights.
He did not stumble upon a Tommy gun. He brought that with him. Yeah. He knew he would need it.
But there are plenty of cases where he only comes up with what eventually saves him halfway through. And then his final victory, he never knew what was happening. He just pretended like he did.
Which is so cool. Like him pretending he knows what he's doing to get under the bad guy's skin is such a master troll move that I can't help but respect it. Like he's a master of improvisational skills, including his gimmick where he's like, the next line you say will be this, which always for some reason completely emotionally and psychologically disarms his enemy for him to guess that. It's never explained how he does that. He just does it. It's so funny.
He read the script. That is literally a Bugs Bunny move. He read the script.
All right.
God, I wish there is just a single scene where one of the Pillar Men is like doing their bad guy monologue, and it cuts to Joseph just like looking at the screen and he just holds up a sign, which is like, get a load of this guy or whatever.
I want him to hold up a sign that says, "Ain't I a stinker?"
It's not entirely unfounded, the idea that he has read the script. He has read an Iraqi manga in his childhood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What?
So
Where's this at? Wait a minute.
So, okay, this is different because you read the manga, this is different. In the anime, when there's that flashback of young Joseph in the plane that's being hijacked, in the manga, he's reading an issue of Superman.
It's Superman in the manga, yeah.
In the anime, they change it to Bao, which is the manga that Araki worked on before JoJo.
That's even better.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's like when the Fantastic Four meet God and it's just Jack Kirby. That's what it is. But something other than just his path to victory, I guess, that sets Joseph apart from his grandfather is his ethical stance. Whereas
his ethics are weird, yeah.
Yeah. Like Jonathan, of course, was very, honor-based and the gentlemanly code of conduct.
Poster boy for chivalry.
Yeah, yeah. While Joseph there's no act that is against the rules for Joseph. He would never apply himself to a code, but he cares very, very much about the ends instead.
Yeah.
And that starts very clearly with him, like, facing down corrupt cops and maiming them.
Violently.
Punching a dude's finger through his nose.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But then that, it's something that we've talked about on the show all the time when it comes up, seems to dissolve. He just, his ethical core, that seems to be a very major part of his introduction, eventually just becomes kill Pillar Men because they're extra bad.
Yeah.
Anybody who's cool enough, no matter what they espouse, what they're part of, is still cool by me if they are personally a cool guy.
Joseph is pretty much immediately, like, out of the gate shown to be, has, like, that chivalrous sort of heroic streak of his grandfather in defending Smokey from these cops and fucking them up. But then, like, in the manga, at least, I think they took this out of the anime, after his, like, heroic introduction, like, you can call me Jojo. My granny and I just moved here from London. Nice to meet you. And the next panel is like, whoa, American girls are cute. I'd like to flip those skirts. And Smokey's like, I thought the English were supposed to be polite. What the hell? So, like, he's always got this, like, push and pull between, like, being heroic and then being, like, kind of a rascal misogynist to, like, most of the women he meets. It's like, I'm not your grandpa's JoJo, exactly.
It's like, a really early thing when he's just dealing with Straitso even is he comes super prepared. He wants to kill this vampire guy right away. And he dumps thousands of bullets into a fully populated restaurant.
Yes.
He doesn't kill anybody. But then, I think it's in the manga too, but in the anime, there's like two girls still in the restaurant just like screaming and crying because they're so scared because this restaurant has been annihilated by gunfire. And then he says, hey, get out of here or else I'm going to make out with you. Like, he doesn't just like, shield them and then quickly run them out. He's just like, he's like weird about it.
He's so weird about it. Like, part of me is like, I shouldn't like this guy, but he's too charismatic. So I'm just like, oh, fine. Be weird.
Even aside from like Joseph, it's like what we said in the previous episode when we went over the final two episodes of part 2. It's like, man, Joseph likes Stroheim the Nazi. By the end, he's just cool with him. But even by those final 2 episodes, like he kind of grows on you a little bit. Because he is so into the UV ray. He's just delighted to melt zombies and stuff, and it's like infectious.
Infectious Nazi joy. Yes.
Like, after seeing all of part 2 now, I do think that on the whole, it has a generally strong treatment of Nazis as a group.
Yeah.
But that is totally forgotten when you deal with the individual of Stroheim. which is a problem when, I don't know, 90% of what we see about the Nazis is the individual Stroheim.
Yeah. All the nameless Nazis get fucked up every time they're on screen, basically.
It's because they're not half robot.
Stroheim gets pretty fucked up every time he attempts to fight anybody. He's always just a torso, completely just missing his legs by the end of every fight, but...
Or less.
Or less, even. Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't just turn to a head with a rad haircut at the end in a jar.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Stroheim is also two characters, really. Like, there's pre- and post-Santana. They are very different men.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Where was this gleeful enthusiasm back in Mexico?
Something about Santana broke this man and turned him into a cartoon.
And on the other hand, where is the antiseptic sadist post-Mexico?
Maybe his brain got exploded into chunks and they glued that back together and it just wasn't quite the same Stroheim afterwards, just different parts of his brains arranged slightly differently, and that made him a nicer guy who wasn't excited to do blood experiments on people.
We built him wrong as a joke, but it worked out.
Part of the joy of Iraqi stuff is there's almost like a dreamlike state to it where motivations are constantly in flux. Physics changes based on the whims of the plot, stuff like that. People forget their powers and get new ones all the time. And one of those things is characterization, sometimes just flip wildly between different things based on what would be like funny at the time for the most part. And I think Stroheim, just like once Iraqi got a taste of wacky Nazi Stroheim, he just didn't want to go back. He loved wacky Nazi Stroheim and not like serious, he was fucking scary the first time you meet Stroheim.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah, we got enough scary guys in this. Let's have a fucking wacky comic relief Nazi almost. That's just so thrilled to be here and shooting zombies with guns from his stomach.
There's later parts where sometimes villains kind of become frenemies or even just allies later on in the story.
Woobification, yes.
And sometimes I think it's just because he really enjoys drawing that character a lot, and he's just like, no, they're good now.
Yeah.
When that happens in later parts, it feels more natural than Stroheim usually, because they generally more go the route of, you beat me up really hard, I'm your friend now.
And like
rather than
you
just
can
flipping
see,
a switch.
Yeah, if it feels like Iraqi got a little more used to his habit of doing that. Like I think he almost didn't realize he was doing it in part 1 and 2, mostly part 2. But like by the time you get to 3 and 4 and 5, he seems like he leans into that a little more. I don't know if like organically, or he doesn't plan anything, obviously. It's just like he's making things up as he goes along for the most part. But it makes a little more sense why these enemies would decide to be nice a little bit later after they get beat up. Whereas this one, it's just like, why are you nice to each other? Fucking Wamu was awful to you. Like, why are you both like admiring each other? It's like, these people suck, dude.
Yeah, there's also that thing of Joseph twice, I think, to the two lower pillar men going like, you were a great warrior, I'll honor your warrior spirit at least. And it's like, don't fucking do that.
No.
Whenever he does that, that's probably the most, along with the stuff with Stroheim, is like the most out of character things for him, because it feels like that's a Jonathan move.
Yeah.
Honor the warrior spirit of a bad person.
Especially because like the way he treats women with such disrespect is like in stark contrast to like, okay, these guys have like declared war on humanity itself, and you're gonna be like, after all, you were pretty cool. You were an okay guy. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Don't befriend these wicked creatures.
Joseph and women, of course, he had to marry the only one who could pull his pigtails back and figure out that's what he was into.
Yeah, basically. I think like Joseph and Erina are pretty cute. Oh, not Erina. That's Granny Erina. I think Joseph and Susie Q are pretty
Joseph
cute.
and his grandma are really cute.
Oh, damn it. I was just going to edit it out.
Just very different.
Yeah, they're cute in a different way. But it's because fucking Erina and Susie Q look almost exactly the same, but one is older.
Yeah.
But hey, he's got a type. I don't know. I like Susie Q's, like, she kind of takes it and dishes it a little bit, like, because Joseph is like, he kind of negs her when he first meets her and stuff like that, but then she kind of just negs him back a bit, and it's just like, oh, they have formed a little rapport. This will make sense later when they're suddenly married. Like, oh, okay, sure, whatever.
We brought it up in the previous episode of this podcast, but I think Grant said that they seem like a couple that will get divorced in 6 months.
Yeah.
They will have a really great first 4 months, and then the last 2 are really bad.
I could see that, yeah.
Compared to part 1, and like I think we said this when we watched the first 3 episodes of part 2, but I think as a whole, part 2 comes off as like way stronger and more confident than
from the
does.
jump, from like the very first episode, there's confidence really is the word, I think.
Yeah.
There's nothing in part 2 that has the same kind of lull in it that part 1 does with the Blueford and Tarukas fights.
Which the only highlight was swimming down.
Yeah. Swimming down.
And how many breads have you eaten in your life before it started?
Oh, yeah.
That's it. The 2 highlights.
Yeah, there's nothing that really, like, kind of kills the pace a bit in part 2, I think. All of part 1 and 2 just kind of goes, like, real fast. It doesn't, like, waste any time for the most part. Yeah, there's basically not a single episode, I think, that doesn't have something pretty good in it.
And something that's always like upping the stakes a little bit. Like, you think things are bad when you realize like what's going on with the Nazis and Santana or San Viento, whatever you want to call him. But oh wait, there's other guys and they're actually worse. That was like the baby of the gang.
Yeah. They all hated him. They thought he was a stupid chump.
That was the scrub of the gang, and that scared you. Well, look at these fucking guys, and there's 3 of them. Whoa. And they put these like rings on JoJo's heart and carotid artery. So it's like the stakes are just constantly ramping up to these. There's a constant upward momentum of like stress and excitement in this one, where I feel like part 1 kind of definitely did have those like kind of big lulls where it's just like, when is it gonna like get fucking intense again? I feel like the intensity is always there in this arc. Part
1 loses a lot of its tension and excitement once Jonathan becomes superpowered, because his Zeppeli just gives him all of his leftover hormone and makes him a Super Saiyan, basically. And it's a lot less interesting when he's suddenly just extremely good and can just punch through everything.
Not knowing what is ahead. I am worried about the escalation problem, because we have gone to the point where we are now launching immortal, unkillable enemies into space to experience ego death.
You love it.
Like, that is great, but it's because things have been getting bigger and more dangerous and harder to deal with very steadily on an exciting escalation curve. But how do you continue that through parts 3, 4, 5? Like, this is the Fast and the Furious problem, where you start by just boosting DVD players, and now we're in a decades-long shadow war that really is the Metal Gear Solid film that Hollywood is going to give us.
Yeah.
Well, I think Araki kind of, like, I'm not going to spoil, like, what kind of happens with the other arcs, but I think, like, the way I think of it is it kind of, Araki's sort of going into different genres, sort of, with each part in its story structure. So, like, part 1 was, like, more of, like, a typical shonen-y, fancy lads get in Victorian fights thing, and then it ramps up to this, like, more supernatural, ending. And this arc is kind of more of instead of more vampire-y stuff, like, this is vampire stuff, but it feels a little more like occult and ancient than that. So it kind of feels like it's more ancient occult than vampire stuff thematically. Like, there's different genres he goes into in the other parts. There's, like, more of a murder mystery type theming going on in one of the parts. There's more of a monster of the week kind of style coming up. And then, you've got, like, kind of mafia drama of one of them as well. And I think, like, the way that Araki deals with, like, not knowing where to go with tension is he'll just switch genres to something else.
Yeah. Format of each part's story is pretty different from each other, while somehow maintaining a lot of what makes JoJo JoJo. Like, there's a on Netflix right now, it just came out a couple days ago.
Thus spoke Rohan Kishibe.
Yeah, Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan, which is a JoJo spin-off story from Part 4 that follows a character from Part 4.
Mm-hmm.
Who is basically Araki's self-insert OC.
Yes, it is a self-insert of himself, and he really likes him a lot, so he got his own side stories in some of the manga.
Wouldn't it be weird if a manga artist were one of the characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Now that's relatable.
But all of those are basically JoJo-themed Twilight Zone episodes. They're all thriller or mystery episodes.
I love it.
They're all one-off plots, and we actually need to watch the rest of those. But
I like the two that we saw. Two?
we only saw one.
We saw one? Okay.
But it felt like 2. There was so much going on in there.
There was, but there's also I'm mishmashing the fact that Rohan was in like a full JoJo season because he did his episodes were Twilight Zone-y in different ways. So I'm kind of mushing that together in my memory. My bad.
JoJo changes up his format a lot to. So even though like later parts may actually have less of a threat than what the Pillarmen are, or maybe technically less power than the Pillarmen, the powers of JoJo characters escalate or at least spread out horizontally in power levels in different ways where you honestly don't fucking know if this is more of a threat than the Pillarmen or not, because you have no idea how these two beings could possibly fight each other.
Yeah. Like, I kind of enjoy that a lot of the, like, I'm talking about, I'm on the Battle Tendency podcast here, but my actual favorite is the upcoming one, Stardust Crusaders, which is not the most popular opinion. A lot of people don't like Stardust Crusaders, and I'm like, why? Everyone has more specific powers, so because everyone's powers is a lot more specific than like this guy can punch good and can use this like very general use power in different kinds of ways. Like it's definitely a different format because of that shift in how the characters can interact with threats.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think when you've seen people go like, ugh, part 3, I think it's just because that is like the most popular, iconic part of JoJo. So I think some people are just, some people are just tired of it.
Oh, it's I didn't realize it was a backlash. Okay.
if there's ever any JoJo representation in a anime crossover fighting game or anything JoJo related, it is going to be the characters from part 3.
But that is because their powers are so specified. Like I said, they're just like, they're cool, iconic. They have a certain look to them. Whereas Hamon is just like, well, it's yellow. It looks like electricity. I don't
sometimes
know.
it's turquoise, but that's only when you're underwater.
Yeah,
that's true. That's because of how the light refracts in the water.
Yeah,
it's an illusion. But yeah, like, when it comes to a fighting game, those characters in the upcoming arc are just more suited to be in a fighting game. So I do understand being weary of seeing them so often. But
if you go to Universal Studios Japan, there is a JoJo ride there.
Yes.
And it's based off of part 3, and it's like one of those
Can Toad leave Nintendo Land and go ride the JoJo ride?
I hope so. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves here talking about part 3 vaguely. Oh no. It was like the Back to the Future ride or whatever. It was one of the things, you're not on a track or anything. It's just shaking around, but it's also like
simulator.
Yeah, it's a motion simulator, but you're also wearing like AR goggles or VR goggles too, because it's all CG animated stuff. But
I hope it's still there when we go.
Yeah, me too.
When we eventually go.
Me too. But anyways, back to part 2. Let's stop talking vaguely about part 3.
Sure. So the Pillarmen.
The Pillarmen.
The Pillarmen.
What do we think about the Pillarmen?
What do we think? I think the Pillarmen, I think they are really fun to watch in fights. I think they're great in fights, not so much outside of fights.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we miss Dio?
Dio's got the charisma the Pillarmen don't really have. Although I do like when Joseph is fucking with the Pillarmen, they become immediate like schmucks. That is like they go from these like incredibly noble warrior types to like fucking clowns. He's clowning on him. It's so funny.
They just get pissed off so quickly. Like they have this big air about them of being these, warriors with thousands of years of combat experience, and then they get fooled by a simple magic trick, and they're just like, "Hey, you
little stinker!"
And I think why they're great in fights is because that's the only time they show that personality. Like if AC/DC had wild mood swings anytime but when he's like in the middle of the fight on Air Supply Island. I think I would like AC/DC more.
Yeah. Also, like, AC/DC just is not there much in the story because he died. He's there in the first episode that the three Pillar Men are introduced. A little bit in the following episode where he just like sticks the ring on Joseph, and then this episode where he fights Joseph and he dies. No, actually, no, the episode after too, because his brain is there. I forgot about his brain.
That's true.
Still counts.
You just forget it's him because he's not a big old pile of meat.
Yeah, with gross veins coming out of his hinged fingernails and toenails.
That was like the first time of many that I was squicked out by JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That is the nastiest thing.
I think
his fingernails and toenails hinging up. Like, the fact that they're on a hinge is just so awful. The body horror that Araki is capable of is amazing to me. It's so gross.
Yeah, and all the disgusting contortionist stuff that Santana does.
Oh, God. Ugh.
And how he burrows into a dude's face
like
and puppets the guy from inside.
Like, that for some reason didn't squick me out as much as the hinged fingernail.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't like fingernail stuff. But like, when Santana did that stuff, I was just like, oh my God, ew, but I'm invested. I didn't know Araki did like body horror like this. So that was, I'm just used to like anime. It's just like someone's arm got chopped off and they're fine. They're just talking,
Yeah.
But this was like so much more visceral and disgusting. And I was like, oh my God, he has body horror chops that I did not realize he had. And then when fucking AC/DC does that gross shit with his fingernails, I was just like, oh God. I was like looking through my fingers. Like I didn't want to even look at that. Sometimes.
Wamo gets a pretty good amount of screen time. Maybe the most out of any of the Pillar Men,
actually.
Cars gets so much after Wamu dies that he's
so
trying to catch up,
too.
and he might, but I don't know. It's close.
I appreciate, even though Wamu is just kind of like your stereotypical like honorable warrior bad guy, I appreciate him being in this story because he works really well for when Cars reveals the way he fights and how he's just like, fuck all that honorable shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it's Wamu and AC/DC against JoJo is this perfect like inversion of part one, right? We've got these noble warriors following their own rigid code, going up against someone who's devious and underhanded.
Yeah.
But their alignments have switched, and then Cars just takes away Joseph's advantage, which, like, more than all of his superpowers, it makes him more dangerous. I don't care how much you can squeeze. If you just don't fall for Joseph's shit, that's your real superpower.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Even more so than when he becomes the ultimate being. Him revealing that I don't care about honor and I'll do whatever I can to win is more of an escalation in stakes than, like, oh, this guy's a superpowered, superhuman, immortal being now. For some reason, emotionally, it hit harder that he was like, I don't care about honor, I'll do anything.
Yeah. Like, you can't imagine AC/DC stabbing someone in the back, literally. No, never.
No way.
It's just not done.
I'm of two minds in this one thing, because I really do like how they reveal Cars being like, no, fuck any of this shit. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get the stone by just immediately having a body double Cars there and just stabbing Lisa in the back before she can even really fight him. But at the same time, damn, I wanted Lisa to get one real fight and not just and not just completely own Wired Beck.
Yeah,
who talks like fucking Shoes Goose in the English dub. I'm Wired Beck. Hello.
Hello.
I was in prison, but then the Pillar Men broke me out. I'm going to give you a hug because I'm full of spikes. My hand is a doorknob. I live in the door.
That's an uncanny impression.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kingdom Hearts 4, you're going to be the Mad Hatter in the Alice in Wonderland world. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I could do a good Mad Hatter too, huh?
It's
all
the
right.
same guy. Wow. How do we move on from that?
I'm
Jesus.
sorry. Just
Disarming.
busted out my Wired Beck impression.
Disarming impression.
But the point I think you were trying to make is that, yeah, it's very unfortunate that for all of the mystique, all of the aura of capability around Lisa, her two fights are totally chumping a dude and getting totally chumped in return.
Yeah. Boring, right?
Yeah.
I don't know a ton about the future JoJo that hasn't been animated yet. Stone Ocean?
Yeah, that's Stone Ocean.
That's the first time Araki has a female protagonist. And it's like, okay, I'm ready for girls to fight.
Yeah.
Finally, it's been fucking, 25 years of JoJo? Can we get a girl fighting and being good at it?
There's a lot of girls fighting in Part 6, actually. I think a lot of the main casts are girls,
yeah,
actually.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Lisa, for all of her incredible presence, it does feel like just a waste to not actually see her back that up with her actual skill. Like, her skills are implied. I'd love to just see them, though. Please.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's I should bring this up because when Void went through Part 2 for the most part, just reading the manga instead of watching it because it was quicker. But you pointed out to me that the art style of the manga and the anime is a little different. It's pretty close, but Lisa is drawn differently in the manga.
Yes.
Same character design, but if you look at her, she looks more related to Joseph.
She does. And also her neck is a little thicker, so you can I like that a bit more because it's like, oh, maybe she is strong. I don't know. She also looks just like anime Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
I love that for her. She's great.
Yeah, she's got a jawline that's a little more similar to Joseph, and she also has not to the same extent, but the same big blocky bushy eyebrows that the JoJos have.
The Jennifer Connelly eyebrows. Another thing I wanted to say about the art style going through the manga instead of the anime, there's certain strengths that the anime definitely has over the manga, and I think it comes out in the fight scenes a lot because it is a little hard to suss out exactly what's happening in the manga because everybody is so meaty and there's so much special effects kind of happening and stuff like that. You've got the big katakana onomatopoeias splashed all over everything. And, it's all black and white, of course. And, the addition of motion and a slightly more simplified style, the anime is so much more easy to follow action-wise. There's parts in the manga where I'm just like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And I'm going back and forth between 3 different pages being like, who is that? What are they doing? What part of the body is that? And thank goodness, there's always an announcer or somebody nearby going oh my god, this thing just happened and I'm narrating it because it's nonsense to look at. So that's handy.
There will always be a speedwagon.
Speedwagon nearby. Thank God. Which is it's funny to see that happen in the anime. There's somebody describing the action to you, but it's when you're reading the manga, you see why that was necessary. Because I have no idea. The scene with the squirrel blasting through Stroheim, which is the best scene in the anime so far, perhaps. It's really hard to suss out in the manga. I went back and forth through these different panels being wait, so there's the squirrel's legs, it's jumping. And then, whoa, there's so many lines, and now there's a hole through the Nazi. What happened?
Yeah.
So that's one benefit of watching the anime over reading the manga is you actually know what the fuck's happening in the action scenes.
I'll also say, because I've read everything from Part 1 through 4, in Japan at least, there were new releases of the manga that were all colored. They weren't black and white. I have found that the action in Araki's manga is easier to follow when there's color.
Yes. I noticed that about there's only a couple of pages here and there that are colored with one primary color, red usually. And those sequences are so much easier to visually distinguish what's going on. Man, I wish the whole thing was colored. I see why they did it.
So we've talked about Joseph and Stroheim and the Pillar Men and Lisa, but we have to talk about Caesar Zeppeli.
Yeah.
Rip.
Fucking
killed by a rock.
It is
killed by a chunk of ceiling.
It is the destiny of Zeppelis to die so that JoJo's may live, I guess.
That sucks.
Do you think that's what the cross represents? It's not that he is being compared, but that he is being crushed under the weight of others' sacrifice and righteousness.
A legacy he must fulfill in the way that Jesus had to die for the sins of humanity. Caesar has to die for JoJo to succeed. That's my Silent Hill brain making up shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that easy.
Type it into the wiki. Go to the JoJo wiki right now.
Tappity.
Okay, so we've had 2 Zeppelis now. Compared to part 1, Caesar is such a better character than Baron
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah. He's got more personality. Like, all of part 2 has so much more personality than anybody in part 1, in my opinion. And that extends to Caesar.
I know a lot of people, there's a lot of JoJo fans who just don't care for part 1, or I've even seen people go like, oh, you're starting JoJo? Just skip part 1. It's just like,
Oh.
it's 9 episodes, 1. That's not a lot.
And you're missing Dio.
Yeah,
It's 9 episodes of
Dio.
Dio.
You need to know about Dio. Yeah, I take back what I just said because Dio is in the thing. So I was talking about like
He
primary
just sucked
protagonist
up
wise.
all the personality. All of it just like went to him.
He's a vampire.
And also, like, gotta say, like, even if like the middle bits of part 1 drag and aren't as interesting, the first 3 episodes of part 1 are pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the Fancy Lad trilogy. It's so good.
Yeah, it's such a it's those 3 episodes on their own are so tight. Like I said before, like if you cut out the post-credit scene of Dio still being alive, that would just be the end of the story.
That's true, yeah.
That could be a movie unto itself, like, you know. But man, for as much, things in part 1 are a little wonky and might not work entirely correctly, they serve as a really, really good base to make everything in part 2 better, I think. Especially stuff like Caesar. You're taking the pretty basic shit that happens with Baron and kind of using that as a lot of his character motivation for like how he views family and stuff, and why he continues to do the Hamon warrior shit, which I think is a lot more interesting than if he were just another Hamon guy who is trained to beat up pillar men or something.
Yeah.
And he's not in too many fights in part 2, but his last fight is a really good one.
Oh, you mean his
now.
last fight as listed on his wiki page, Caesar Zeppeli versus Rock? There's a very cruel wiki editor that I'd like to have words with.
That's so messed
Sassy.
up. That's messed up. But yeah, I really like what they do with Caesar for the most part, and especially like the relationship they start building up with him and Joseph. I just wish there was a little extra time for them to be like super bros before he fucking dies.
Yeah.
Because they're really only bros for like half an episode before he dies.
I know.
And
then they have a fight anyway, and it's like, no, you're barely bros. We can't fight yet.
It's basically the only scene you get where it's like, okay, Joseph and Caesar are totally synced up. They're just good friends and battle buddies now. And that is just the bit where Joseph is falling, and he's like, oh shit, I gotta make a ladder out of icicles. And Caesar thinks, oh shit, I gotta make a ladder out of icicles. And then they link up that way.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I wanted a couple more moments like that.
Yeah.
That would also make his death more tragic too, if we had more friendship moments like that. So it's a little bit of a missed opportunity.
And the fight that leads directly to it would have that much more weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just the idea that the last words they exchanged were having a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Boo-hoo.
Rip.
I like his Hamon bubble launcher stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's
bandana.
fun.
I think their special moves, the bubble launcher and the clacker volley, really exemplify the differences between Caesar and Joseph as characters. Because Caesar relies on and iterates on and succeeds with the bubble launcher. Everything he does is bubble based. You can follow his development as a warrior on his ability to use bubbles in more interesting ways. Whereas Joseph just wants to have a special move. It never does anything useful because his strength isn't in perfecting technique. It's in improvisation and in just pulling shit from the seat of his pants.
Like TNT that lit.
I don't know how they frame it in the manga. I'm sure it's probably pretty similar to the anime, because for the most part, the panels just serve as like the storyboards for the anime for the most part.
Yeah, honestly, it's
like
really close.
Same angles, same poses, everything. It's really close most of the time. But man, in the anime, when the Wamu is just going like, you wouldn't happen to have something like a stick of dynamite behind you, would you? And then the camera is just slowly panning behind JoJo's back, and he just has a fucking lit stick of dynamite, like he's a fucking Looney Tune.
It's actually funnier in the anime. I'm looking at the panels right now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And like while the minecart is crashing from having the brakes applied, like in midair, Wamu's saying, "Or were you planning to blow me up with that dinky thing you lit?" In parentheses.
Oh.
In parentheses, dynamite? I don't know if he said the word dynamite, but it's in the word bubble, so I'm not sure. And he says, "The one you so cunningly pilfered from the excavation site." And then the next panel is JoJo with the lit dynamite behind his back saying, "Gah, he did it again!"
Oh, there's a really minor difference, because like Grant, you read this from the wiki right before we started, that there were like, certain references to Nazis from the manga that were taken out. That fight with what's his name, that Donovan, that Nazi in the desert. So in the manga, when Joseph beats him up and leaves him tied to a cactus, in the manga he also left a little cheeky note like stuck to the cactus below him that what does it say again? It was just something like say hi to Adolf.
Yeah, it was like say hi to Adolf for me.
The manga also had like, an actual drawing and photo of Hitler in 1 or 2 pages.
No, yeah, this is the guy. He's got like a freaking compass in his eye.
Yeah.
Ew, like why? Yeah, it says hello Adolf.
Okay.
He's upside down on the cactus, and there's a tiny note next to his head saying, "Hello, Adolf." And that's why I like Joseph.
Yeah.
He leaves a note.
And there's also like a small scene like right before that fight or after or something where he's trying to get directions in Mexico, and he stops to get a drink, and he just starts drinking out of a horse trough. Because he doesn't know that that's for horses for some reason.
Why doesn't he know that?
I really wish that scene was left in the anime, because I just want to see him being a dumbass drinking next to a horse.
So dumb. I understand why they didn't include it, because it's not like for effectiveness of time.
Yeah.
It's not very important that he drinks out of a horse trough.
It's important to me, dang it.
Just replace the normal credits with the credits rolling over him just looping animation, lapping up water from a horse trough.
I'll drink your horse water.
It's also a bit of a racist scene, actually. That's probably what
is it? Oh, yeah, sure.
After he drinks from the horse trough, you've got like 4 very stereotypical bad guy looking fellers with all of them have sombreros except one. Calling him a gringo. They're basically gonna like mug him. JoJo shatters his cool goggles he just stole from Donovan. The shards go in between the bad guy's hands, like 5-finger fillet. He's got his hand up against a pillar or something like that. And it actually kills a bunch of flies that were between the guy's fingers, and it scares him so bad that he goes, "Durr!" They're all amazed that he killed the flies, and then he basically just like gets him in, like JoJo gets him in a headlock, and he's like, "Well, since you're so impressed by that, give me food and gasoline in 3 minutes. Go get it." And they're just like, "Okay." Oh!
What the fuck?
But like these guys are just hideous. And they look pretty offensive.
Yeah, I'm sure they're drawn in a similar way to like the cops were or something. Because whenever there's bad mean guys, they are the most disgusting looking dudes possible.
Super nasty looking. But yeah, once you put a sombrero on that shit, it don't look so hot.
Yeah. So something I wanted to bring up is, part 2 still has there's still a lot of characters from part 1 in part 2.
Yeah.
It feels like it hasn't been that long. A lot of characters survived and are still here.
Straight becomes a bad guy.
I mean, he was already pretty bad before, but in like a qualitative sense.
Yeah.
I like part 2 because it's interesting to see like the kind of, sort of a tone shift. Part 2 definitely feels different from part 1, but like there's still enough lingering part 1 stuff here that it's interesting to be like, oh, Speedwagon is still here, or Granny Arena is here now. And I really like the end of part 2 because that's when it actually feels like part 1 truly like gets like closed. At the end of the anime where it's just like, oh, what happened to all these characters? And, it's just like, oh, Speedwagon died because he's old. Granny Arena died because she's old. Like, all this part 1 stuff is going away now.
Don't you forget about me.
Yeah. But at the same time, man, Speedwagon's dead.
And he died of a heart attack.
And
And he was single, and he was, quote, single till the day he died. Rub that in. Weird.
He's got a Jonathan-shaped hole in his heart, which is what killed him. That's a very large hole. It's huge.
Don't know how the doctors missed it.
I am positive this has already been brought up. The fact that Stroheim dies an honorable death as a proud German soldier on the front lines of Stalingrad in 1943.
Yeah.
How did this robot Nazi, who basically helped fight a god, get killed by normal war stuff?
Mm-hmm.
A stray bullet or something. Like, how the fuck did that go down?
I think the Russians deployed several trained combat squirrels.
Yeah, that's his big weakness. They found that one out.
Yeah, they burrowed through his brain, and that's what took him out.
Yeah, nobody's blown up his head yet that we know of on screen. Unless that personality change did in fact happen because of something like that. So he's like a zombie. You gotta destroy the head. Nobody has until somebody happened to shoot him in the head at Stalingrad in 1943.
To go back to what you were saying, yeah, I mean, the end of part 2, not only the Where Are They Now montage, but like there's a lot of part 1 callbacks. We got some overdrives, we got a zoom punch of all things.
Yeah, we did.
What are people's ideas on why the part 1 callbacks get so heavy? Like, are we maybe setting up an expectation that Joseph also dies?
I mean, yeah, there's already like some very clear stuff in the end of part 2 where it's really setting up that like, damn, the JoJos just die. This is we're technically on the 4th Joestar. And the previous 3 have all been murdered.
One's named George, don't count. We don't really care about that.
Yeah, boring guy.
So yeah, I could see some of that being a deliberate thing to get some Jonathan parallels going.
Some drama for the end of the final fight having like not just astronomical stakes where you're like, how the fuck is anyone gonna get out of this shit? But also to like kind of harken back and remind you about Jonathan. It's kind of like, oh well, Jonathan died. You didn't expect that, right? So what if maybe Joseph could die? It kind of adds a little more weight to the finale, I think. And then like they kind of rib on it by showing everybody at a funeral, which he shows up to. So
I also feel like, at least the first time I watched this, when he pulled out like an overdrive or the zoom punches, because we hadn't seen those in so long, it felt like those techniques were like inferior to the new ones they were using. So him using those kind of felt like an act of desperation or something.
Yeah. And they don't work. Like it's explained as part of Joseph's exhaustion, but that zoom punch does not melt a zombie.
No.
Nope.
I think only one overdrive works. The one where he chops Kars's bone blade off, and that makes his arm explode or whatever. But every other overdrive is...
Also his overdrive reversal against Wamu's butt stomp.
Yeah, the rebuff overdrive, I guess. But yeah, none of those start getting pulled out until he's getting like really tired, so...
See, exhaustion first affects the brain. He can only rely on his fists because he's too tired to think.
And then when something random happens, he just says, "That was all part of my plan." That's gonna bother him if I say that. I don't know if they do this in the anime, but he like literally has a thought bubble that says like, "That's not true."
You hear him think that to himself. Yeah.
Bless this mess. I love him.
Yeah. Battles as a whole in part 2 are a lot more enjoyable than part 1 because they rely, for the most part, a lot less on explaining what Hamon is currently doing.
Yes. Just let it be. Just let it do the thing.
Let it be magic. There's a lot more time spent with graphs to illustrate the trajectory of projectiles and stuff like that.
I'm fine with that.
Which I like, because a lot of the times I was like, wait, why did that work? And then it'll actually show me a graph of like, you see the string was actually doing this, and when you cut this part, it's like, okay, yeah.
He's doing some magic bullshit. Okay.
Yeah. I love how many like magic rope tricks happens in this. Like, you've got the part with the AC/DC with all the spikes. That's like a known magic string trick you can do to impress children and stuff. And the part with
going on Penn and Teller Fool Us and opening up my toenails for my boiling blood. They'll never see it coming.
And then the other one with like Lisa dangling from the rope, like JoJo does some wacky little swings and like very subtly ties a knot that'll ensure that she won't actually fall or something like that. Like, I just love these basic magic tricks that are just like sized up for a battle. You know, it's great.
And it's also part two, you know, while we've kind of ribbed on the fact that, like, hey, certain things get mentioned and seem like foreshadowing, and it never comes back. Like, you know, Wamu's "don't step on my shadow or else I automatically kick you" reflex.
The brave Mexican child.
The brave Mexican child, that the news reporter lady who seems like she might be a character that goes on the adventure along with JoJo, and that doesn't happen. But despite those things, there's a decent amount of stuff that happens and then is either set up and payoff, or is a thing that like gets established earlier on so it can be used again later, like JoJo's running away tactic.
Yes, yes.
The string stuff comes up like 3 or 4 times total, I think. When those happen, or, you know, happen again, it's like pretty satisfying.
Yeah, when Araki actually intends to do a traditional setup and payoff and actually sees it through, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if he like forgets that he set something up, or if he just purposefully abandons setups, or if it's just me thinking like, this is setting up something. Like, when he doesn't do it, like, I don't know what's actually happening there. That's part of the experience, I guess, of this series.
Yeah.
Because the expectation to go on with a character is, if they don't get a name, no matter how like distinct their design or how important they are in the moment, if they do not have a first name spoken aloud, do not expect them to return.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far, that is a tactic you can stand by.
Yeah, that's a pretty good rule.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, otherwise, you know, like racist Wario's cyberpunk cousin from the first episode could potentially be an important character.
He looks important.
Right? He looks like he's going to be a minor, you know, like not a main villain, but like a recurring minor villain. But nope.
In a world where the Pillar Men cared about worldly things, like he'd be their toady.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't, so he isn't.
Yeah. And there are some things where it's like, man, I wish they got used more. I wish Smokey was in the story more.
I know, he just shows up at the end and it's like, hey, it's him.
Smokey being the vessel for a big backstory flashback, because he is part of the Speedwagon clan and that is their job. But just the way that is layered with a very emotional moment of Speedwagon really recognizing that fact and seeing himself in this boy and like taking him under his wing, and like that doesn't do anything, you know, functional, and it doesn't even come up in their final farewell montage, but it is a really sweet emotional beat that's there all the same, and so I like it on its own grounds.
And hey, he eventually became the first black mayor of Georgia.
A town in Georgia. They don't say which.
It just says the first black mayor in Georgia.
Huh,
Okay.
of any given Georgia town. All right.
Yeah, just somewhere.
It's phrased slightly differently in the anime, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Translation difference.
yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for you, Smokey.
Went from a street rat kind of character to...
Gained about 300 pounds of muscle.
I'd love to see an adult Smokey. I don't know if we ever do we?
I mean, you see adult Smokey in the anime, at least, when they're showing him, like, oh, he became the mayor. Like, you see him all grown up.
Oh, because I didn't watch that episode recently, but in the anime, they just show everybody as their current selves with the words next to them.
So giant hulking Smokey is an anime original design?
I guess
think
it is,
he
yeah.
is. To the wiki.
But yeah, he gets big. He's like as tall and as big as Joseph, basically.
Good.
Again, like everyone is so big in part 1 and 2 and 3 as well, honestly.
Oh, he looks great. Thanks
Oh, yeah,
for
there he
linking
is.
that. Oh, he's New York Mayor Smokey Brown in the anime.
That is actually a very small Smokey cameo from a later part of JoJo.
What? Oh my god. He can't be both. Is that legal? I don't know.
He moved.
He becomes mayor of New York later on in JoJo.
Wow, what a life, what a career. Where's his full story?
Smokey is not like a major character in any other parts, but you do see that at least later on. Yeah.
Wow.
There's something different about the food back in the early days of JoJo, I think, that made every boy become this huge. Because later on, they're pretty slender, they're pretty lean.
They get more Twinkie and less berry over time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a little dismayed, in fact, that the covers of the JoJo hardback books have modern Iraqi style versions of the characters, like Joseph Joestar, Santana, Cars, everybody, and they have the same face. Every fucking person, including Lisa, has the same face as Joseph Joestar, and everyone's so skinny. Even the Pillar Men are just like kind of not normal. Not even the biggest bodybuilders that humans are able to like naturally do and stuff like that. They're just like muscular guys, and it's like, I want otherworldly, disgusting muscular guys. Like, this is supposed to be an escapist fantasy. What's with these normal muscled men? These are not threatening pillar men. They are hardly pillars at all.
Well, you know how pillars are straight and slim?
I guess, yeah. It's a different riff on it. I find it disappointing. I don't like it. Joseph looks like very strange. His face is an entirely different shape. Like, he's got a very soft, round chin. Doesn't even look like him no more. Like, none of these redraws look anything like the characters. Wamu looks totally different. Like, it's just wild.
I got the image here. I'll send. But yeah, this is Joseph in like part 7 style, I think.
I hate it.
Maybe part 8.
That's not my husband.
Yeah. Like, I think the design, that his new style works for the new characters he makes, but when they're applied to their older ones, it doesn't work for me.
Why isn't his chin pointy?
I know. Right? His hair, you can't even see it.
His eyebrows aren't huge and blocky anymore.
I only see 4 abs. What the fuck?
Right? You should look up Wamu. He looks super, super strange. Caesar is the one that looks the closest to.
Yeah, Caesar looks pretty similar
but
in the
still,
modern style.
His
but
lips are too
Fucking
plump.
look at this Wamu. I hate him.
Yeah, I hate that Wamu.
He's yelling.
That's a Wamu cosplayer. That's not Wamu.
Yeah, that is a Wamu. Yeah. Wamu should be fucking huge because the Pillar Men are weird.
He also looks like he's 16.
Everyone looks so young here, and it's not just because of Hamon aging. Like, everyone's just like a teen.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking up pictures of Wamu. That's my Wamu right there.
That's him. Like,
that's Wamu.
Look at the difference. Like, honestly, that's not the same guy.
God damn, man. The poses and everything in the manga are incredible.
I just realized I could be looking these up too.
Yeah.
You probably aren't finding Lisa because it looks like fucking Joseph. There she is.
Yep.
That is the same face as everything else.
Yeah, this is the modern redraw of the scene where Joseph does drag to sneak into the Nazi compound.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, that's my only like complaint about the hardcovers is that the cover of them is not indicative of the actual art style that is within the book itself.
Yeah.
Not even close.
But yeah, Grant, I wanted to ask you, because I've done this, I think I did this with the end of part 1 as well. Where do you think part 3 is going to go?
There's going to be a hat guy. We've seen hat guy.
Yeah.
And you've seen the last, because the episode ended with a little teaser as well.
There is a teaser that Dio is returning, even though the artifact they found, Dio was not in. It was kind of important that he was not in it. I don't know why what I'm saying is so funny. That's the thing. So yeah, like, vampires don't drown. Like, I'm expecting after trying out a new style of villain that doesn't have a deep personal connection to the heroes, I think the way you correct for that is to bring Dio back one way or another. So that's where I think things are heading, and it is Hatman's job to put him down.
But first, gotta get out of jail for being a bad boy.
For being a bad boy.
For wearing a hat that's too cool.
That's true. So I don't remember because I haven't watched this last episode of the anime in a while because I caught up with the manga instead. Do you know who this old guy is?
Oh, you mean redesigned elderly Joseph? Or are you thinking of a different old guy? Okay.
No, redesigned elderly Joseph. My husband continues. He only gets finer with age. He's even better. He's not the main character, clearly. Because, I mean, look, there's a foreboding dude in this jail cell. Obviously, he's a little more important seeming. But I adore Joseph, perhaps even more in the upcoming part. Old Joseph is so good.
As all people do in their age, he has become racist.
Yes, he has.
Oh my god.
But old Joseph is so funny. He's still got a lot of the little, like, wily, weird tendencies of young Joseph. But because he's not the focus, he's not doing as many, like, wacky plans and stuff like that. But I think his personality is still there. And it's just like, yay, more Joseph content. I'm into that.
You can tell it's Joseph, but old.
Yeah. I'm kind of expecting Joseph to become a Speedwagon.
Okay. To clarify, so in part, because you see what year it is at the end of part 2. It's like 84, I believe.
87.
87. At that point,
it's been 50 years.
Yeah, Joseph is already 69 or
Nice.
70 years old, I think. And he is still fucking huge.
He's fine.
He is a built old dude.
He's a silver fox. He's gorgeous. I mean, that's the hormone making him super buff and younger looking than he probably ought to be looking.
Yeah.
Araki did something consistent. That's why everyone's hot forever, okay?
Yeah.
It's called Hot Moan.
Hot moan. This always just gets stuck in my craw a little bit with part 2, so I just have to bring it up, even though I think we've already acknowledged this in our minds. Damn, Joseph got horny in his own mom's butt.
Yep. Oops.
My hot 50-year-old mom. Wait a minute.
Oops.
Like when I read that in the manga, I like that he still says nice, but it's written in katakana like it's a sound effect. It's got the big JoJo katakana like nice font.
Oh my god.
I don't know why I expected him to just say it in a word bubble from his mouth. No, big sound effect font.
It's a sound
Nice.
effect, yeah. It's the sound of him smashing his arms together, doing that weird gesture he does at the camera.
Yeah.
That moment is so strange because it's clear that, like, Araki knew at that point who Lisa was. Like, it's not an Empire Strikes Back situation.
It's not Joseph's finest moment, I will admit. Joseph is not perfect. I defend him. I do love him. That's one of my least favorite Joseph parts. Like the
I guess it's to set up a
general
moral
rudeness.
of don't peep. That's what you're supposed to learn. You never know who that might be in secret.
Yeah. Like I suppose there is a chance that at that point maybe he hadn't decided that Lisa would be his mom, but the fact that he was drawing her in a way where she looks kind of like a JoJo, like from the get-go, makes me think that he must have known from the start with that one at least.
I think I'd have to compare like how he draws Suzy Q with how he draws Lisa, but I'm not really sure. I'd have to find a part to look at that has both of them.
I guess I am assuming that the foreshadowing in the anime is also present in the manga about regarding Smokey's narration that in the future, I'm going to learn some things about who Joseph's mom is.
Oh, right.
Please don't get confused by me saying this out loud during a scene with the fact that it's actually being said out loud during the scene. That might embarrass you in a future podcast episode.
Yeah. Something I want to bring up that's manga only is in between each chapter, frequently there's little bios for different characters that list their favorite foods and stuff, including the Pillar Men.
Ooh.
Yes.
I guess their favorite food is vampires, I've been led to believe.
The Pillar Men also have favorite colors.
I believe Wamu's was turquoise blue or something like that.
Yeah. Joseph's favorite food is fried chicken and chewing gum.
Ah, together?
I don't think together. I think it's fried chicken and like chewing gum isn't really food. You don't swallow chewing gum.
Maybe you don't.
Yeah, Joseph is a different breed of man.
Yeah.
You know how useful it is to be able to summon like hormone charged chewing gum out of your gullet?
How come he never did that?
Oh, what could you do with hormone gum? I bet you could do something. I bet you could make like a fucking like bungee cord with hormone gum.
Let's talk about Hunter x Hunter.
We know all of the abilities of soap bubbles with hormone, but gum bubbles.
Ooh.
And it's like, you know what? It could still work because you would get a instance of the narrator bullshitting how it works because like, oh, well, because he chewed the gum, there is spit all over it, which conducts hormone very well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And because it's like a stronger surface tension, they'd be really, really tough. And like you can't break them even with like anti-hormone or anything like that.
I still can't believe Caesar Zeppeli, the suavest motherfucker, ladies' man du jour, smells like detergent all day, every day. Wash your clothes right, dude.
But before we started watching part 2, I was trying to remember certain elements, and I thought Caesar only had soap coating on his special gloves, but no,
that's not what he says.
It's all of him is coated with soap.
It's a slippery devil. I also like that JoJo brought with him, at least in the manga, to the big Wamu horse fight in the Colosseum, he brought with him like a thing of oil to charge with hormone and do tricks with and stuff like that, just to get all oily and gross and stuff.
Yeah, I like that technique, just like coating stuff with oil so that anything can be a hormone-based weapon. But also, you never see him do that. He's just like, damn, I'm going to coat this with oil. Yeah.
He doesn't like plan, like, you don't see him just like bringing this with him and deciding to do this. He just has it in his jacket. It's just like, my plan. It's like, oh, okay, sure.
Actually, I'm sorry, because the wiki lists like everyone's favorite food and stuff from the
we gotta know.
I gotta know Speedwagon. Does he have any? Oh no, he doesn't have one. Oh, they never did one for part 2, because part 1 didn't have these. Oh no, I need to know Speedwagon's favorite everything.
Bullshit.
Fish and chips, obviously. Maybe caviar in part 2, because he's a fancy man.
Yeah. There isn't one for cars in the wiki either. My God.
I could have swore that there was one in the manga, though.
Cars doesn't eat. He consumes.
It's true.
It's true. Okay, there's not one for Wamu on the wiki either, and I definitely know that exists, so I guess...
Yeah, I think they just didn't go into the...
I guess it's my duty to fill in every JoJo character's favorite food into the wiki now. So that if anyone else does a podcast and needs to look that up, it'll be there.
This is how we fix the world. We leave the world a little better than you found it, you know? This is praxis.
Yeah.
I am all for fixing wikis, trust me. I am known. Hey, at least there's no circumcision conspiracies in this fandom.
Yeah.
I mean, you would know. We just looking at the way some of these outfits are drawn, you would tell.
Yeah. Something going on here.
I love that the Pillar Men just barely wear almost any clothes at all.
They're functionally naked. Yeah.
I love the idea that once they wake up and they have to like do reconnaissance and stuff, figure out where the stone might be in the world, all this shit. They must be at night walking around, or at least sneaking around normal streets, and you're just walking around in Italy or something, and you just see this fucking 6'6" beefcake dude with almost no clothes on, just walking around in sandals, and
They're
going like, what the fuck?
There are probably some cryptid sightings around this time in Italy.
Some weird report just lands on Mussolini's desk, and he's like, what the fuck do you expect me to do about this?
This is the 13th report just this week of a big beefy man just voguing at night in the streets. What is he up to?
I think it's kind of weird that, like, there's Nazis in this story, but it's a story about, like, the ultimate being, and I feel like those two things don't really, like, come together like, they feel like they do come together thematically, because it's, like, right there. The Nazis think they're the most, incredible, representations of humanity.
Stroheim calls him the Ubermensch after the Super Asia mask,
Yeah, so, like, that's there, but it feels like that doesn't, like, go anywhere by means of, I don't know. I felt like there was going to be a moral or something to come out of this,
Highlighting that is less as an exercise for the reader.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about my least favorite thing that JoJo does. He fucks with a cat.
Oh yeah, he's mean to that cat.
Yeah, that's real fucked up. Don't be mean to the cat.
That's probably the worst thing that JoJo has done, is been mean to that cat, and also spied on his mom being hot.
I also want to bring up, because part 2 is absent of this actually, and a lot of this stuff doesn't come up until part 3, where a lot of it is at, and there's some in part 4 as well, I believe. The singular dog in part 2 survives.
Yes.
Yes, against all odds. And because cars helped, of all people.
Yes. I think that dog is going to die 3 days later of starvation, but it survived this day.
That the saddest man, that dog is pretty funny looking in the anime, because it's like like Grant described it. It was the saddest, oldest puppy in the world. But
fucked up looking.
in the manga, it's even more like pathetic
it's even
looking.
More sad.
It is just a wretch of a puppy.
Oh, I found Lisa's page for her likes and stuff like that.
Okay.
Her hobbies are fashion and taking baths.
Clearly.
Her favorite food is carrots, according to her assistant Susie Q. Her habits is pushing her hair back. Her religion is Catholic. She's Catholic.
All right. Okay.
So we have a Catholic hormone practitioner. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, apparently.
When she fled England, she went to Venice to be closer to the Pope.
Marital/relationship status unknown, doesn't ever want to talk about it with anyone.
Yeah, come on. He planned her story out from the beginning. Come on.
Okay, I'm sorry. In the world of JoJo, does the Vatican know about all these vampires?
I mean, they're not unknown. The Nazis do.
Yeah.
One would think that major powers have some understanding, although the Royal Air Force completely in the dark about zombies. So I guess it could go either way.
Has JoJo stuff ever tackled like the Ark of the Covenant or anything like that? That seems like something they would dip into.
Yeah, I agree, but no, I don't think they have.
I found Wamu's page. These are all in the fourth one for some reason. Birthplace, the Americas, parentheses, assumed.
I mean, they certainly weren't called that then. That we do know.
Family, a mystery, a sentient being that evolved separately from mankind, unknown where his kind emerged from and where his allies went. Favorite color, cobalt blue.
Okay.
Favorite food, humans after being turned into vampires. You were right.
Yes.
And also, sleeps for 2,000 years is a category.
The fact that his favorite food isn't just vampires, but humans after they have been turned into vampires.
That implies something.
That makes it sound like vampirism is a seasoning.
It also makes it sound like there are other kinds of vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's horse
vampires. You can
vampires.
have a dog Well, you can have vampires.
Okay.
Are there any dog vampires?
My theory is that the Pillar Men, before they got masked into the Pillar Men we know, were a kind of natural vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the stone mask can turn people into something very close to that we call vampires.
Yeah, because that flashback was basically saying that it's like a separate species from humans that like naturally occurred or something like that.
So if you put the stone mask on a Dio or a Straight-Zo, or a wired Beck, I guess, would they then become a Pillar Man?
Well, I don't know about Dio because he became vampirized with the mask, so I don't think you can double dip on the mask.
But Cars double dipped on the mask.
Yeah, Cars double dipped.
Did he? I thought he was already a fucked up weird guy.
The race of like weird kind of vampire people weren't super powered like the Pillar Men. They were basically just like natural vampires. Like that flashback explains. Like
well, he double
making...
dipped when after charging the red stone, which is a different
Yeah.
double
Yeah,
dippage.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you need to charge
So,
it to
yeah.
double dip, or do you need to charge it to break a Pillar Man as we know them's skull?
Yeah, I think it's only for...
think you gotta charge it.
Okay, so if for Dio to become a god, he would have to triple dip with the mask.
Okay. I wouldn't put
if
it past him. He'll find a way. He's Dio.
Yeah, but yeah, if he had just tried to put the mask on a second time, he may have become a Pillar Man. I've never thought about this. Whoa.
What would that do for him, though? Like,
He'd have more to brag about.
I guess, yeah. Just,
Even more unkillable than vampires?
He might get his own elemental powers. We've seen the powers of wind and fire and light.
I mean, he kind of already had an elemental power with being able to freeze stuff.
That's true.
kinda,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he had eye lasers, too, so his Space Ripper stingy eyes.
Yes, please.
Excuse me, they're not lasers. They're Space Ripper stingy eyes.
Get it right.
One of my favorite anime attack names ever, because it sounds like Straizo made it up on the fucking spot. Because he didn't know what lasers were at that time.
Nobody
So it's
did.
just
It
like-
was 1938.
Yeah, so it's just like, stare into my Space Ripper stingy eyes. Take this.
Oh, an anachronism I wanted to bring up, actually, speaking of lasers not being invented. When, I don't think this is in the anime, but when Cars is fighting JoJo, and he's got the rope and he's like, he jumps all around to kind of like secretly tangle the rope up. And Cars at some point says something like, swinging around like Tarzan is just going to make you look a fool. This doesn't matter, or something like that. And I was like, wait, how does he know about Tarzan?
When was that book published?
While he was sleeping.
Well, yeah, definitely while he was sleeping.
1912.
Okay, so JoJo would know about Tarzan.
But he didn't mention it.
No,
He didn't mention it to Cars, so... Let's have a book club meeting before we start this fight.
Like, there is a lot of Wamu, honestly, that Cars seems to absorb after Wamu dies. Air jets and knowledge of human society while they were asleep. I don't know why that's a trait of Wamu's, but it is.
Oh my god, is it? Jesus Christ.
When they first wake up, Wamu gives like a rundown to
my
Cars and
God.
AC/DC about like what he knows about the world, and he's just like, well, I think last time I knew the red stone was with the Roman emperor or something, but who knows where it is now? And it's like, when did you learn that?
Yeah, like it starts with the plausible assumption that there isn't a Roman emperor anymore. I mean, which is an understatement, I'd say. But there are more things that go on that makes it seem like Wamu was really aware for a sleeping guy.
Oh my god.
Like, I can only think that did Wamu alone wake up every once in a while just to scope shit out and then go back to sleep, or did he go to sleep later than the other two? Or something like that. I don't know.
Well, it said he sleeps for 2,000 years. The other
Yeah,
ones, did they
so-
sleep for 2,000?
Yeah.
So, like, there barely were Roman emperors. Like,
Yeah.
they were still on the first couple.
Yeah.
They knew where it was headed.
Yeah.
They could tell. We'll sleep through the rest. I know how it's going to be. It's like, how the fuck do you know about Tarzan, dude?
Yeah. I mean, also, to be fair, Cars also somehow knows about electric guitars.
Yes.
So,
So he
best
not
part.
only knows things from the past he should know, but also the future. Yes.
Damn. Okay, I guess he can know about Tarzan then. Fuck it.
sorry, I just got really distracted by the wiki article listing out the entire Tarzan book series. A lot of these have like multiple paragraphs summing up what the book is about, and then there's one that's just Tarzan, his monkey friend Nakima, and Chief Muviro and his faithful Waziri warriors prevent Russian communists from looting the lost city of Opar.
Oh.
I did not know he ever went up against communists, but okay.
Oh, okay. I guess I got to fact check myself. Electric guitars started showing up in the mid-30s. They were present and new. I don't know if air guitar as a practice was too particularly widespread.
Cars literally invented the air guitar.
Yeah. Well, maybe he was doing an air lute or something. We're just assuming modernity here.
Yeah.
That'll teach us. That'll show me.
Never do that.
But yeah, just for when we go into further JoJo parts, like I said before, it's always really fun to remember that Cars still exists, just floating around in fucking space for every future part. I've always thought, like, damn, all this crazy shit is kind of everything that happens in JoJo is kind of a byproduct of the crazy shit Dio does. But I guess it's really a byproduct of Cars making the mask.
Technically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's the inception of all JoJo, really.
Yeah, I guess this part would have basically happened regardless of Dio's influence.
Yeah, they would have woken up. And honestly, without Dio putting the Joestar line on its fated trajectory, the Pillarmen might have destroyed all of humanity.
We wouldn't be here today to make this podcast of this historical account.
Did Dio save the world?
Oh my god. He might
Accidentally.
have. Accidentally, yeah. But you know what? Dio would be totally fine with that because Dio strikes me as the guy who would kill other bad guys because he wants to take over the world.
Yeah.
So he will absolutely save the world if it's not him ruining it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can't rule humanity if there's no humanity left.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to ask, Grant.
Yes?
Do you have any predictions for any future band names that might show up? Because we get Cars, AC/DC, Wham.
I do love how eclectic some of these are, and of the moment. Like we mentioned it a while ago when Lisa showed up. Like that is, I mean, great music, but did not have the legs that say AC/DC did historically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess legs is more ZZ Top, but never mind. When's ZZ Top gonna get in JoJo? But there is, even with the exceptions, there's a central trend toward American and British men with guitars. So I'm guessing there's going to be some Guns N' Roses, Poison, Rat. We're getting into the hair metal days in publication.
And by the way, I'm not going to say which one, you've already guessed at least one of these. One of these is at least right.
Whitesnake. Yep. Whitesnake would be a great name for something in JoJo. It'd be interesting to see something go further before publication, like lesser known British invasion stuff, like Herman's Hermits showing up as a JoJo character or something. Yeah, a bunch of people living in the mountains represented by a guy named Herman. I would love that.
Are there any bands that you like that you want to see show up?
A few parts down the line, if like a Bratmobile, if someone drove a Bratmobile, that would be great.
Oh my god, I'm looking at like the references page on the wiki, and I just realized that a character in the upcoming one is named after Paula Abdul, and I did not realize it until now.
Yes, I forgot about that.
I did not realize it till now.
Is MC Scat Cat going to be in part 3?
I wish.
This is something I really like about JoJo. You know, I like at a certain point things just start getting named after individual songs and albums, and not just the bands themselves.
And albums, yeah, lots of albums.
Yeah, there's a good amount of album names, but
I mean, Wired Beck is Jeff Beck's Wired.
Oh yes.
Oh
right.
shit.
Yeah. It's not Beck the mononymic musical artist. It's Jeff Beck the instrumental rock guitarist.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
God damn.
Wow, you just schooled me. I did not know that.
I love that they took those references further for the anime by just straight up getting licensed music for the endings of the credits of every part. Like that is still going on with, up to the most recent anime. They do that, and later parts start cycling through multiple different credits sequences throughout the anime. So
that'll be fun, especially when presumably not every song is 8 minutes long, so you get to have like 4 different endings from the one song you license.
Yeah. But there's some parts where it's like, they pull out a very popular, well-known song, but every once in a while they pull out something that's like from a band that that isn't super popular, and then it pulls out like one of their more obscure songs. And you're just like, what the fuck? They went with this?
Like Loggins and Messina, honestly, are a great example of that. Like, everybody knows Loggins and Messina songs even today, but who knows the name? Like, Kenny Loggins, but what's Messina's first name? It's Joe, by the way. It's Joe Messina. Okay.
My favorite band shows up in the next part.
Yes.
It's not my favorite characters, though.
They're interesting.
They're interesting, but they're definitely not my favorites. But I was like, shit, yeah, that's my favorite stupid 80s band.
I think that's everything I had in my notes to bring up to the round table today.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's the same for the both of you. So VoidBurger, thank you again for coming on.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
This time I'm not going to forget to ask, is there anything you would like to share with the people at home? Anything you'd like to direct them to?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's very good. But I stream stuff. I'm on Twitter. I have more than one YouTube channel for gaming, and I have a new one for video essays I'm trying to make. It's real fun. All of those are VoidBurger. You can't miss them. They're all spelt the same. Nothing weird going on there. I'm also half of The Great Debate. That's spelled stupid, though. That's spelled Grate. Debate.
It's about cheese.
It's about cheese. It's about Silent Hill. The pun was like, oh, there's lots of like rusty grates and stuff, and we're talking about like theories and rumors, mostly about the Silent Hill series. So it's a good time. Check those things out too if you feel like it. We recently did a podcast about The Medium and how there's some rumors that the team that made The Medium might be doing the next Silent Hill game. We don't know. We hope not, but that's a whole different rant unto itself. So that's all the stuff I do.
Well, thank you again for coming on. I
Thanks
knew
for having me.
I knew we had to have you as our part 2 guest as soon as the gift of Bugs Bunny was brought to us.
He only gets finer with age until he doesn't, by the way.
We had to have the font that brought us that rhetorical twist on the show.
Thank you. But yeah, you're going to love Joseph in the next part as well.
He's a lovable guy when he's not perving on his mom or kicking cats.
Or being racist, So all those aside, the perfect man.
Joseph Joestar, everyone's charismatic but kind of racist grandpa.
He's like one of those rare plate appearances where somebody gets 3 strikes, but they're still allowed to keep swinging.
Oh, you little rascal. I can't stay mad at you.
That is a Joseph move to just like distract the umpire and make him forget what he counted to.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So with that, we will be back next time with the beginning of Stardust Crusaders, 3 episodes of anime to talk about. In, again, a brand new time, a brand new place, but the same old podcast. So once again, to be continued.